In the twilight years of ancient China, the Zhou imperial house reigned in name only. Real power lay carved among 7 contending states. What if 5 of these states, forming the grandest alliance, still could not halt the relentless ascent of just one? What if the combined might faltered at a single mountain pass, deciding an era's fate before the first engagement? Welcome back to the History Atlas. Today, we delve into the Warring States period's coalition campaign of 318 BCE at Hangu Pass. Here, alliance ambition confronted rising empire resolve, forever reshaping Chinese history. The authority of the Zhou dynasty, once paramount, had long faded, leaving a vast power vacuum across the land. Ambitious states vied for dominance, their borders in constant flux, diplomacy a perilous art. Into this precarious environment, a new entity rose in the western reaches, fundamentally altering the rules of engagement. This was the state of Qin, forged by the potent reforms of Shangyang decades prior and now guided by the ambitious King Huiyuan. Its strategic position within the Guanzhong Plain provided natural defenses and rich agricultural sustenance. Beyond geography, Qin's strength derived from its centralized administration, its commitment to meritocracy, and a military machine honed to unparalleled efficiency. While other states, Chu, Han, Wei, Zhao, and Yan, often grappled with internal divisions and shifting allegiances, Qin moved with singular, unwavering purpose. Its expansionist campaigns were relentless. Territories once belonging to Han and Wei now swelled Qin's dominion. This formidable ascent cast a long, fearful shadow across the continent, defining Qin as a cold, logical, and ruthlessly efficient power, its military an ever-sharpening instrument aimed at unification. Against this looming shadow, an ancient idea revived: the vertical alliance. For decades, strategists like Su Qin had advocated for the Hezong principle, uniting states along a north-south axis to resist Qin's westward expansion. This directly countered Qin's own Lianheng, or horizontal alliance, championed by figures like Zhang Yi, which sought to fracture such resistance by allying with one state to campaign against another. In 318 BCE, faced with Qin's growing might, 5 powerful states, Chu, Han, Wei, Zhao, and Yan, forged a pact. This uneasy confederacy was born not of genuine friendship, but of shared, existential dread. Notably absent from this grand coalition was the powerful eastern state of Qi, whose neutrality would prove significant. Their goal was audacious: to march directly into Qin's heartland, to neutralize its power before it grew too formidable. While King Huai of Chu, commanding the largest domain, was often seen as the nominal leader, his authority over independent monarchs and their armies remained inherently limited. This was a desperate gambit for the survival of multiple kingdoms. The stakes were immense. Coordinating such a diverse, multi-state force across vast distances, with distinct traditions and competing interests, presented a formidable logistical challenge to their collective resolve. On one side, a grand assembly of warriors, the coalition. This immense force, potentially hundreds of thousands strong, represented an unprecedented scale of collective power. A kaleidoscope of banners fluttered, each representing a proud kingdom contributing its distinct martial tradition. Chu's vast forces brought formidable numbers and powerful cavalry. Han contributed expert crossbowmen, renowned for their precision. Wei fielded heavy infantry, a bulwark of disciplined might. Their sheer numerical superiority was the greatest perceived asset. Yet, within this diversity lay a fundamental weakness: the coalition lacked a unified supreme commander. Though King Huai of Chu held nominal leadership, the kings and generals from each state retained significant autonomy. Field command was fragmented, priorities diverged, creating an inherent tension and a lack of singular vision that would prove precarious. Against them stood Qin, fewer in number, perhaps, but a monolithic block of iron discipline. Every soldier functioned as a cog in a perfectly engineered military machine, honed by decades of relentless reform and constant engagement. Qin's army was renowned for its effective infantry, particularly its spearmen and halberdiers, who advanced with unwavering resolve. Their logistics were efficient, their military code strict, enforced by a meritocratic command structure. Leadership was highly centralized under King Huiyuan, supported by capable generals like Gan Mao, whose strategic acumen, often influenced by the insights of Zhang Yi, ensured a cohesive defense. They understood how to exploit defensive terrain and capitalize on enemy disunity. This was not merely a clash of armies, it was a contrast of philosophies. The coalition aimed for an offensive push directly into Qin's heartland, the Guanzhong Plain, through the formidable Hangu Pass. Qin, in turn, committed to an unyielding defensive stand at that same pass, leveraging its geographical advantage and the singular will of its state against the fractured might of its numerous adversaries. Imagine approaching a fortress not merely built of stone, but carved by nature itself. Hangu Pass was a geological marvel, a narrow canyon twisting through jagged mountains, its walls soaring hundreds of feet skyward. For centuries, it had stood as Qin's eastern shield, a choke point so formidable that ancient wisdom claimed a single defender could hold it against an army of 10,000. Located in modern Lingbao, Henan province, Hangu Pass guarded the primary eastern approach to Qin's capital region, the Guanzhong Plain. This formidable geography created an immense bottleneck. Qin, with strategic foresight, had heavily fortified this natural barrier over decades. Strong walls, elevated watchtowers, and layered defensive positions exploited every contour of the difficult terrain. For any attacking force, especially a grand coalition, the pass presented a daunting challenge, both physical and psychological. A vast army became a congested mass within its confines, its numerical superiority negated. Their supply lines, already stretched across hundreds of miles, became tenuous and exposed. Conversely, Qin's defenders enjoyed short, secure supply routes from their well-stocked heartland. Defending Hangu was not merely a tactical decision for Qin, it was a statement, a testament to their mastery of defensive warfare, transforming nature into an unbreakable rampart. The vast coalition, a confluence of 5 powerful armies, arrived at Hangu Pass with a palpable sense of immense strength. Hundreds of thousands stretched across the landscape, their banners a testament to grand, collective ambition. Confident in their numerical superiority, they initiated their assault, believing sheer force could breach any barrier. Waves of Chu infantry, known for their massed ranks, led the initial push. Han crossbowmen unleashed volleys designed to clear the ramparts, while Wei chariots sought any possible avenue for penetration. Each contingent launched itself against the fortified pass with fervor, yet, the narrow confines immediately negated their numbers. The sheer press of bodies in the constricted approaches transformed an advantage into a liability, hindering movement and coordination. From concealed positions and fortified walls, the Qin garrison offered an unyielding defense. Archers rained down precision fire. Rocks and timber tumbled from above, disrupting formations and denying any foothold. Disciplined Qin spearmen and halberdiers held the gate and inner defenses with an iron grip, their formations impervious to the fragmented assaults. Every attempt to outflank, every direct challenge to the main gate, met an organized, unflinching resolve. The clang of metal on stone, the whiz of countless arrows, the strained shouts of commanders and soldiers echoed through the canyon. Days blurred into a relentless cycle of attack and repulsion. The physical exertion on both sides was immense. For the coalition, however, the inability to achieve any significant breakthrough, coupled with the growing strain on their extensive supply lines, began to erode their initial fervor. Frustration slowly replaced their early confidence. Hangu Pass remained an unbroken wall. The true turning point at Hangu Pass was not a sudden, dramatic event, but the slow, grinding realization that the pass would not yield. Qin's defensive strategy was a masterclass in exploiting terrain. They understood that in the narrow confines of Hangu, numerical superiority ceased to matter. Discipline, advantageous position, and unwavering resolve were paramount. Qin forces held their ground, inflicting substantial hardship upon the attackers without exposing their own positions unduly. Their logistical lines, short and secure, sustained them effectively, a stark contrast to their adversaries. A single command structure ensured rapid, coordinated responses, allowing Qin to adapt and reinforce with unwavering efficiency. For the coalition, their gravest errors were twofold. First, the fatal flaw of disunity. 5 kings, 5 generals, 5 sets of priorities, all attempting to direct a single, colossal army. This fragmentation created chaos, led to missed opportunities, and resulted in half-hearted commitments across their ranks. Shared fear had brought them together, but genuine unity of purpose eluded them. Strategic myopia further compounded their difficulties. The coalition focused almost entirely on a frontal assault against an impregnable position, failing to develop alternative strategies or exploit potential weaknesses elsewhere. Second was the logistical impossibility of sustaining such an immense force in a prolonged engagement far from their homelands. Each day the pass remained unbreached, their resources dwindled, their morale eroded, and the fragile bonds of their alliance frayed further. Supply chains stretched to their breaking point, rendering the vast numbers of the coalition a burden rather than an advantage. Internal dissension, always simmering beneath the surface, began to resurface as the costs mounted and progress remained elusive. The failure to achieve a breakthrough after significant, sustained effort signaled the practical end of their offensive capability, marking the definitive moment their ambitious campaign stalled. The Great Alliance, once a surging river, now retreated, not with the crash of defeat, but with the silent sigh of resignation. One by one, the Allied armies, their spirit diminished, their supplies exhausted, began the long journey home. The banners that had once signaled unity now stood for a grand design that had faltered, a desperate gambit that had not paid off. Their failure to breach Hangu Pass, after weeks of relentless yet fruitless effort, had eroded both their will and their resources. What began as a formidable coalition dissolved into separate components, each commander prioritizing the withdrawal of his own state's forces, rather than maintaining a cohesive front. This dispersion underscored the inherent fragility of the shared purpose. Qin, having achieved its defensive objective, did not pursue, allowing the weary forces to depart. The strategic implications were immediate and profound. Qin's heartland was affirmed as unassailable to external assault, a monumental victory by simply holding ground. The grand vision of the Vertical Alliance, as a practical military instrument, now appeared deeply flawed. This outcome significantly strengthened the hand of strategists like Zhang Yi, whose horizontal alliance concept, pitting states against each other, would gain renewed traction, exploiting the profound disillusionment and fractured trust among the former allies. This silent struggle at Hangu Pass was far more than a defensive victory for Qin. It was a declaration. It solidified Qin's destiny as the paramount power, a force that could not be collectively contained. The grandest alliance of its age had faltered against a mountain, not just a stone wall. This failure would echo for decades, shaping the strategies of every kingdom, guiding the path toward a unified empire under Qin. Indeed, Hangu Pass became legendary, a symbol of impregnable defense, confirming Qin's heartland as virtually invulnerable to external military incursions. The campaign critically undermined the Vertical Alliance, or Hezong. It proved that shared fear, without unified command, logistical coherence, or sustained strategic vision, was insufficient to overcome Qin's efficiency and defensive might. This strategic misstep critically strengthened Zhang Yi's horizontal alliance, or Lianheng, approach. With the collective will of the eastern states fractured, Qin could now isolate and dismantle them one by one through diplomacy and targeted campaigns. For the states of Chu, Han, Wei, Zhao, and Yan, the defeat fostered a profound psychological shift. They realized that a direct military confrontation at Qin's gates was an exceedingly difficult, perhaps impossible, endeavor. This realization often trapped them in a cycle of reactive diplomacy, internal squabbles, and attempts to appease Qin, rather than forming another potent anti-Qin front. Thus, the events of 318 BCE at Hangu Pass marked a crucial confirmation of Qin's methods and its unstoppable trajectory towards ultimately unifying all of China decades later. What other pivotal moments from this tumultuous era deserve our attention? Share your thoughts below, and if you seek to relive these heroic pages of history, remember to subscribe to the History Atlas. Until next time, keep exploring the annals of time.
Did you enjoy the journey through history? Join us again. Like, share, and subscribe to the History Atlas.